Hell, it's not a happy Monday. Welcome to the Prop Queen Pod. We'll be here until 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope you all had a fabulous Sunday. I did not. On top of the fact that I should have just gone and enjoyed my mom's freaking party, the Ravens decided to ruin my freaking party. You know what's funny, though? I'm not that mad. We'll get to it in a sec. Mid-Major Matt going to join the show at 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll talk Monday Night Football props. Monday Night Football props and NBA props. Also going to be joined by Jared R. Block to talk about those 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as both of them do every Monday. They'll turn my day around because if we can win bets tonight, at least I'll be happy about that. Yesterday was a profitable day. It just ended my Ravens season. People who aren't even Ravens fans know this. Joseph Rodriguez. No Henry in the game? Do you know everybody was texting me last night? Where's Derrick Henry? You know that's not the first time this year that I've been asked that question in the fourth quarter of a game or a second half of the game. Derrick Henry ran for 128 yards last night. And the second half, you felt like he wasn't even on the field. The Ravens' offensive play calls have been bad. I can't fully blame it on it. First off, I don't even know how much Lamar Jackson cares to play for this team. Even though I know Dr. Chow said on his live stream yesterday that Lamar is definitely feeling pain, I'm sure. Isn't it sad, though? You don't have faith in your own quarterback to really care to get out there. I really questioned it. Does Lamar really want to play? Because honestly, Tyler Huntley came on the field after he left, and I felt the offense started moving a bit. But then there's the fumbles. Derrick Henry fumbled the football again. It's, the fourth time this season? And that's tying or past what he did last year. Zay Flowers ended the game again on a fumble in a meaningful game. Zay Flowers continues to fumble footballs. And it's so sad because he actually had a decent game. Dropped a couple of balls that he should have had, but had a pretty good game. And Zay Flowers could come up with some great catches. But then he fumbles every frickin' time when it matters. When it matters, the Ravens fumble. The Ravens lose games 24-13. This was the score. 24-13 starting the fourth quarter is what the Ravens were leading by. 24-13. How do you blow that? John Harbaugh? My dad is of the belief that it's not John Harbaugh's fault. He wants to blame the offensive coordinator. He wants to blame the defensive coordinator. It all starts from the top, Dad. The top is John Harbaugh. And I love John Harbaugh. I do. Do I think the Ravens fire him? No. I think Zach Orr is going to get fired. I really don't think that they're going to fire their offensive coordinator. I really don't. I do believe they're going to fire Zach Orr. I really don't think they're going to fire Harbaugh. They might even fire someone under their general manager, Eric DeCosta. The big dogs are not getting fired. You know why? Because the Ravens are the New York Yankees. I am a fan of both teams. The Yankees get rid of everybody else, but they don't get rid of the GM and they don't get rid of the manager. They just get rid of everyone else who's an accomplice to them. The Ravens are not getting rid of, and I'm not saying John Harbaugh's a problem. He is a great head coach. Just sometimes, look at Andy Reid. The Eagles system was done. They said we're just kind of mediocre. They moved on from Andy Reid. Andy Reid's still a great coach, went on to Kansas City, won Super Bowls. The Eagles also won Super Bowls without Andy Reid. It doesn't mean John Harbaugh's not a great coach. It just means whoever the Ravens have decided to draft, whoever the Ravens now have built up personnel-wise, it's not working. John Harbaugh came into a Ravens system with a pocket passing quarterback in Joe Flacco, a quarterback that was, you could say, mature, a team that was very different. I mean, John Harbaugh came to the Ravens with a bunch of veteran leaders, and now John Harbaugh's dealing with a lot of kids. He's dealing with kids that don't have discipline, and John Harbaugh's not able to discipline them. How is it 3 years in a row that Zay Flowers has fumbled on the final catch or a big catch in a game that meant something? How many years? 3? The Chiefs AFC Championship game last year, this year again. Derrick Henry's fumbling footballs now 1 year into the Ravens organization. Lamar Jackson always does, but that's the give and take with him. It's just a mess. And the team, terrible penalties the last 2 weeks. I wanted them to lose. I did. Ask my dad. My dad said, wow, you've been pretty good. You've been kind of calm. I said, you know why? Because I hope they lose. I don't even feel nervous. I didn't. That entire game, I didn't feel nervous. I actually made a good analogy if they did win, but they didn't. I compared it to blackjack. Like at some point, you just feel like you're playing with house money and you're not nervous. You're just saying, okay, like I'm just in it. I'm in it for the game. I'm sitting at the blackjack table. I'm not going to win anything big, but I'm still kind of in it. That's how I felt with the Ravens. I was just sitting there. Okay, we're still kind of in it. It's kind of exciting because like you're still in the game. You're still in the division race. You're not officially eliminated. You just know this team's not winning big. You know it. John Harbaugh apparently just said he's not worried about his job security. To be honest, I'm not worried about his job security for him either. He's not going anywhere, guys. He's staying put. And the Ravens are going to continue to be this way for a while. But it's funny because the Ravens were so quick to pull the trigger on Brian Billick. But not John Harbaugh. Anyway, good job by the New England Patriots. You guys have proven time and time again that despite your easy schedule, you're winning the games that you need to or you're in them. I know they could have beaten the Bills. The Patriots themselves did lose that lead 21-0. They still beat the Ravens on the road in a hostile environment. The Patriots can still be a 1 seed and have home field throughout the playoffs, which is pretty crazy. The Ravens, on the other hand, they're not eliminated yet. They do need the Steelers to lose to the Browns next week. If the Browns upset the Steelers next week, the Ravens can play for the division in the last week of the year. If the Steelers win next week, then it's over. You know what really pissed me off too before the game even started? And no, Craig Abel, I would not ask Baltimore to draft a quarterback in the first round. That's not the problem. Chris Collinsworth before the game yesterday. I don't know if you caught it because sometimes when it's not your team, you don't catch it. Chris Collinsworth before the game yesterday said the Ravens fans and the Ravens players were watching the end of the Steelers-Lions game on the field yesterday, and it got the place so hyped up. Maybe it's going to help the Ravens. You think, Chris Collinsworth, that the Ravens fans and the the Ravens fans and the Ravens players watching the game beforehand, watching the Steelers upset the Lions in Detroit as 6.5-point underdogs, you think that helped? You think the fans were like cheering and like all hostile now? Because no. That would have only helped the crowd if they knew the Ravens had to win to get in. Then the crowd would have been hyped if the Steelers lost and the Ravens had to then win to get in. Then the crowd would have been into it. The crowd is not anymore into it when the Steelers were supposed to lose yesterday and end up upsetting the Lions in Detroit in now a must-win situation for the Baltimore Ravens. No, Chris Collinsworth, that did not help the Ravens and the Ravens fans yesterday to feel any better going into the game. In fact, it probably put more pressure on the Ravens. They knew they had to win, and they effed it up again. So I hope that they lost. I hope they get eliminated, because the only way that things fix anything, the only way a team will fix anything in sports is if you don't make the playoffs and nonetheless when you should have. That's why I got mad when the Yankees honestly made the playoffs, because you knew at that point they said, oh, we made the playoffs. We were like a game away, a series away. Oh, God. When the Yankees won the World Series, I was pissed because I knew they weren't beating the Dodgers. And yet here we are. We have to worry about now the same crap the next year because your team made the playoffs. When you're tired of your team and you know it's not working, you kind of hope they lose so that there's changes made. And I'm going to ask Mid-Major Matt, who's coming on now, what his thoughts are. Because, Matt, I was saying it earlier on the show, Andy Reid, similar, you're an Eagles fan. Andy Reid, great head coach. Everyone in Philly still loves Andy Reid. But Andy Reid, it was time to go. Eagles go on to win a Super Bowl. Reid goes on to win multiple with the Chiefs. How much is it the time for the Ravens to Andy Reid, honestly, the guy who was under him and learned from his coaching tree, and John Harbaugh?
I don't know, because everybody wants to fire Mike Tomlin every week, and yet he keeps winning. And it's funny because
but at what
the
point
Steelers
is it
fans,
mediocre winning?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's winning. It's with the Ravens are not winning. I'm so glad that Derrick Henry was fresh down the stretch in the fourth quarter. Like that was ridiculous that after the drive he put together, the next drive it was a Keaton Mitchell drive. Like no, you put Derrick Henry out there, you run the ball into the line 3 or 4 times and you drain the rest of the clock. But hey, it was a Keaton Mitchell drive, so that's all that matters. And Derrick Henry will be fresh for next year and for next week. So and I get he has the fumbling issues, but like you still want him out there. So I thought that was more ridiculous than anything else, that he had the great drive. And they're like, well, you're going to take this drive off. But I mean, I think Harbaugh's fine. I just feel like you said it before. Like they don't have the leaders. They don't have the Ray Lewises, the Peter Boulwares, the Terrell
They don't have
Suggs. Like
someone like you, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, who could tell them to get their shit together because Lamar can't get it together. Like there's nobody on the team that's yelling at anybody to clean it up.
well, and I told you last week. I mean, I like Zay Flowers, but like they don't have a dominant number one. Well, let me. They don't have a dominant number one of a good age. Like DeAndre Hopkins is awesome, no matter how old he is, and he's going to forever be a great wide receiver. But like you don't have a true number one, like a guy who like an AJ Brown, like a Justin Jefferson, like an Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like you don't have that. Flowers is very good, don't get me wrong, but he's not a true number one.
He's not reliable either. Speaking of AJ Brown, your Eagles on Saturday, 29-18 win over the Washington Commanders. How much more confident are you in the Eagles after this past week?
I mean, it was good. They beat a bad team. I mean, the Commanders have tried it this year. That's great. I think it's funny. Can we just discuss for a second? Like Dan Quinn needs to shut the heck up about the 2-point conversion. Like him and his broadcasters, his whiny broadcasters, London Fletcher and the rest of the guys in that booth, they're all crying and whining and saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe the Eagles went for 2 in the end." And it's kicking in their face because they're winning. And it's one extra point. Like, get over yourselves. Like, Dan Quinn's sitting there. He's like, we're going to see them in 2 weeks. Yeah, you're going to see Tanner McKee and all of our backups and go ahead and do your little stuff. But, like, that's why you're the Commanders, because you're worried about 2-point conversions that don't really matter. That's why you will forever be a losing franchise. You have a loser owner in Josh Harris. And, like, it's just, why are you worried about a 2-point conversion? Like, I get it. It was weird, but, like, our kicker missed a bunch of field goals. Like maybe we don't want to send him out there, have him miss a PAT and then have a confidence issue. So like the whole Commanders team that was worried about and all those guys jumping the one offensive lineman, like that was just dumb. I couldn't believe how stupid that whole organization is.
I love Triple M. Talk that talk, Joseph Rodriguez says. That's fantastic. Right now, the NFC Championship, it has the Rams plus 230, Seattle 3-1, Philly plus 460. A bit of a drop off then to Green Bay and Chicago at plus 750. The Niners then at 9-1. Who's your front runner right now in the NFC?
Oh boy, because we talked about it on Friday. Like I think there's flaws with everybody. I mean, my number one's still the Rams. It's still the Rams. I think we forget. The Rams had that game in control in Seattle, and then Shaheed's punt return turned it all around. But, like, Stafford was moving up and down the field. I still believe in the Rams the most. I still, look, if the Eagles can figure out the offensive side of things, they have the best defense in the NFC. Let's be completely honest. I know statistically Seattle's better, but Seattle played a bunch of nobodies. Like, their schedule's been really easy, too. So, like, the Eagles, if they figure out the offense, they'll be really good. But right now, it's the Rams. It's been the Rams all season. And if Stafford gets hurt, then that'll change. But for now, it's the Rams.
Let's pivot. Monday Night Football action. We've got old man Phillip Rivers in his second game back since 5 years ago. Second game since last week, really. It's funny, I spoke to Dr. David Chow last week. He said Phillip Rivers told him after the game that he wasn't even that sore. You're going to fade as long as completion. You don't trust the arm?
No, I don't. I just, every time he throws the ball, I hurt because you could sense how much he puts into all his throws. And I just can't, I think it worked well for them to just, go West Coast style, go like 10, 12 yards and stuff like that. I think I was stunned that it was this low because usually it's like 30 something, but like 26 and a half. I'll take a chance on the under. It's not my favorite of the four of them. But I saw him last week. He was right. It was in Seattle. Outdoors, the conditions aren't going to probably be great for him. So I'll take the under on his longest completion.
McCaffrey, is that your favorite? Well, actually, let me backtrack. Which is your favorite prop of this list?
I mean, they don't call me the kicker whisperer for nothing. Like it's
Of course.
Pinheiro. I mean, it's Pinheiro because this is a statistic that kind of goes our way. Indianapolis is allowing almost 3 field goal attempts per game on the road. And so, this is a situation where when you look at Indianapolis at home, they also give up a lot of field goals too. And this is a defense that I think is good enough to let them into the red zone. Remember, we're now indoors. And since we're indoors, that means we get more length from all of our kickers. So I like the over here on his field goal attempts. I like Purdy to just go get it. I mean, you're essentially in field goal range at the start of the game anyway, it feels like. Like, you just need like 10 yards to get in the field goal range nowadays. So I like Pinheiro over 1.5 field goals.
I love it in a primetime spot as well. A game that the 49ers have to win in order to continue to be in this playoff race. And nonetheless, potentially even, I was looking at some of the NFC standings and how the 49ers could even have a chance to jump certain teams in the standings with a win or so.
The 49ers control their own destiny. If they win out, they're the 1 seed, which is crazy because I don't think their defense is good enough.
There's a chance they could still have the 1 seed.
Yeah, I don't think that. And by the way, I said Rivers was outside. It's indoors, obviously in Indianapolis. Exactly last week. Yes, the 49ers control their own destiny because they play Seattle in Week 18. So if they win out, they would be the 1 seed, which I would more than welcome. Like, I'm not scared of San Francisco at all whatsoever.
I've been excited about San Fran. I was hyping them up all preseason. I know Kelly in Vegas has a nice Super Bowl ticket on them. I would love to see them actually win it all because I do like Purdy. I know people don't, but I do like that he's just kind of like the young Phillip Rivers in the sense that he's not going to lose the game for you. He's going to play safe, and the team around him has just been good despite all the injuries. And I really give the 49ers a lot of credit for fighting through injuries. Speaking of injuries, McCaffrey last year injured, but this year he's fighting back. 59.5 is the rushing yard prop. How come you like it?
So if you look at this, both of these teams are pass funnels. Not a lot of the opponents don't like running the ball a lot, but I've noticed. So Indy's got a really good rush defense. But if you notice that the guys who've had success against Indianapolis this year, it's when the teams have committed to running the ball a lot. And so, yes, Indianapolis has really good rush numbers. But if you look, Kareem Hunt had 30 carries. He had 104 yards. Travis Etienne had 20 carries for 74 yards. The numbers aren't great, but this is a really low number for McCaffrey. Bijan, 17 carries for 84 yards. Like, if you commit to running the ball against them, then you're going to get over. Like, this number I got it this morning. Actually, I got it last night on FanDuel. It was 59.5. And I'm like, this is Christian McCaffrey, and this is a 49ers team that will continue to run. And by the way, since they're indoors, all you have to do is break one, and that's like 40 yards right there. So I think we're going to see a healthy dose of McCaffrey. I know a lot of people like his receiving. I think his receiving's not bad either. Like, his rushing and receiving is probably not
the receiving props this year.
He has. The only thing is, this team against the pass catching backs has not been great. They have struggled to get a lot of targets. If you look the last couple games, there's just not a lot of receiving yards for the running backs, but it's McCaffrey, so he'll get it anyway. But anytime I see 59.5 for Christian McCaffrey, I gotta take it, especially indoors, because he could break one rather easily.
Pierce over his longest reception. How come you're going with Pierce?
So Pierce is the deep guy. I mean, that's all there is to it. He's the guy that goes long. Last week, he had 1 catch, 16 yards. Boom. That's it. Yeah. Now, look, as I said, once again, these are 2 teams that are pass funnels, which means you're not going to run it as much. You're going to want to take advantage of them through the air. Now, I don't know how much you're going to counterbalance that with the fact that Phillip Rivers is your quarterback. And if you want him dropping back, 30, 35 times, but for Pierce, all you need is 1 reception. He's gone over this every single time. So I think this is an overreaction a little bit to, once again, Phillip Rivers being a terrible arm nowadays because he is 44. So I'm going to take a shot here on the longest reception for Alec Pierce. He's gone over this every single time. So why not?
We do have breaking news, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. It has been announced that the Steelers wide receiver DK Metcalf is going to be suspended for the 2 games after He took that swipe at the fan. I don't know if anyone saw the video, but there were a lot of videos surfacing yesterday in Detroit after Metcalf did that. Now he can appeal, they say, but he's slated to miss the upcoming game against the Browns, which is still a must win for the Pittsburgh Steelers in order for them to not have to worry about facing the Ravens week 18.
So you should never hit a fan, but like, I find it hard to believe the fan didn't say something he shouldn't have. Like, I'm going to give DK the benefit of the doubt. Like, and look, as I said, you should never hit a fan. Never hit a fan. But, like, you don't just hit fans for the heck of it. And so, like, there was clearly something said. He said, oh, I said DK's full name. No, you didn't. Like, I get it. Like, he's saying I didn't say any of the bad words or anything like that. Dude, you 100% did. Like, there's no way that you're getting hit or swiped at, as everybody says, for saying DK's real name, which, by the way, it's out there. I didn't know that was his real name, but there's no way that he didn't say something he shouldn't have, because you get these muscles. Like, if you're a fan, you scream at a player and like, you don't expect the player to come up to you, and then he does. And then now you're cowering and everything. And then like, I find it hard to believe that the fan didn't say something he shouldn't have. And so it's not that I'm going to side with DK, because as I said, you should never hit a fan, but I'll side with him that, like, I guarantee you something was said that shouldn't have been said. And so, that's how he reacted.
There's always an instigator in the situation. I know that athletes are human to the point that someone just made in the chat. It was Mark. Fans don't make as much money as the players make. So you have to be a professional, just like in the workplace. If somebody says something to you in the workplace, if you're in retail and someone walks in your store, curses you out, as the employee, you really shouldn't do anything to harm the person who might be making a purchase. Same thing goes, I guess, in the NFL. And I know that it's not good for any fan. I don't know why any fan would go up to a player and say dumb things, which I mean, it's just how sports is. I personally could yell and scream and be so mad that Zay Flowers dropped that ball yesterday and Derrick Henry fumbled yesterday. But am I going to curse them out to their face? No. But I might say something on social media. But I guess, doing something to get punched in the face isn't great.
Fans
also,
think
the fan asked for it by like literally going to the wall and confronting him.
Exactly, that too. Like, come on, like you sit in the stands. Like, I don't need another Malice in the Palace. Like, I don't need any of that stuff happening.
But I'm glad, honestly, though, I think if the NFL is going to do something, you have to suspend players. These fines are stupid. The players don't care to be fined $15,000. They don't.
Yeah, but you know what? You then have to suspend this fan and take away, if he's a season ticket holder, you have to take away his season tickets. The fan. He has to lose. He has to, and you have to have his picture. Like, he can't come to another NFL game. Like, it's just it has to go both ways.
I agree that the fan should also be suspended. It's not just the player. My point is, obviously, the player is the one that's going to make the headlines. No one cares about the fan. The player, I think, forget the fine. I don't care about fines. When someone says that a player is fined, who cares? They make millions of dollars a year. They need to be suspended from games if you're going to do something that makes it like harmful, detrimental. The Steelers need DK Metcalf next week, and he's not going to be there in a game that the Steelers have to win.
This just means it's another Darnell Washington week. Or maybe it's a Marquez Valdez-Scantling week.
Ooh, we have seen some MVS.
A little bit. I'm surprised he's still in the league.
I know, but it's Aaron Rodgers, and he wants his guy from over in Green Bay, and he's just making the old people young again.
It's perfect. Alan Lazard's available now. The Jets just let him go. Alan Lazard to the Steelers this week.
Remember when Alan Lazard was supposed to be the next big thing in the NFL?
Yeah, and then Jaden Reed and Christian Watson and all the other guys and Romeo Doubs all passed him, and he became a nothing and went to the Jets and became a nothing. And now he's available, and now he's going to be it's so funny because you look, it's Adam Thielen, it's Marquez Valdez-Scantling, it's going to be Alan Lazard. Like, I mean, the Steelers are like the Ravens. Like, they don't want number one wide receivers for very long. Like, imagine if they still had George Pickens. Like, that would be awesome if they still did.
Well, clearly they didn't like George Pickens in Pittsburgh, and that's that. I want to get into college football real quick because I'm going to lose you in the next 5 minutes. I know that you are mid-major, Matt, for a reason, and we've got bowl games that are not college football playoffs coming up. We've got a random one that started at 2 p.m. Eastern time today. Let's not talk about today because it's already passed, but what's coming up in the bowls that stands out?
By the way, how about my JMU, huh? Everybody was so mad that JMU shouldn't have made it.
Water.
They
nice
covered in the last 2 minutes, and they look better than Texas A&M. Texas A&M scored 3 points. JMU is the only team to have over 400 yards of offense against Oregon this year. I mean, granted, the game was over, but it actually really wasn't over. I mean, they were up a bunch of scores, but JMU accounted for themselves well. So I was really proud of the Dukes in that game, and obviously we gave out the over, and it went well over. Very early. I think in the first half it went over. So I'm working on it for the newsletter for tomorrow. I'm mad at myself because today I liked Washington State, but Washington State's without their head coach, and there's all sorts of coaching things going on. And we saw Memphis look so bad without their head coach, so I got scared off. But Washington State looks really good, and they're going to win. And we're going to have that case tomorrow too. Toledo lost their head coach. There's a bunch of coordinators who are already leaving. Their defensive coordinator, who's awesome, is going to be our defensive coordinator at Syracuse, and I'm really excited about that. So, they're going to be without a bunch of coordinators. They're going to be without a couple of defensive starters. They're going to be without their quarterback. And so Toledo's a team that's going to be ravaged by all sorts of issues and stuff like that. The line's gone up a little bit because when I started writing the blurbs for the newsletter, it was 6.5, and now it's 7.5 or 8. I would go and tease it down to essentially either 1.5 or 1, depending upon if you want to do a 6-point teaser or a 7-point teaser. I think that's the way to go sometimes in some of these bowl games that are around the key numbers, because I hate asking sometimes teams to have to win by margin, especially when we know the back door is always open late. Case in point, the JMU game when they score in the last 2 minutes. So if you want to find yourself another game, whether it's college football or the NFL, I would tease Louisville down. I think they're going to win. Unless there's a last minute opt out there, they're just better than than Toledo. Should be a fun game though. A lot better than the one going on now. And then you got, one of my favorites. There's nothing better on Christmas Eve than turning on the television and watching the Hawaii Bowl. It is just a tradition for college football fans everywhere. It is, I really do want to, if I actually made money and didn't work in radio, which makes no money, I would go to Hawaii for Christmas just for the Hawaii Bowl. They're only a 1-point favorite in this game. Hawaii's got a sick against the spread number at home, especially in this game. They're really good. I have not seen too many opt-outs or transfers for Hawaii. I get that California doesn't care as much. It's not a bad travel situation for Cal, but you find a lot of times that these teams that go to the Hawaii Bowl are there essentially for vacation. And I think if Cal wasn't in the ACC, they wouldn't be getting as much respect. So I really like Hawaii on Christmas Eve in the Hawaii Bowl because that it's a tradition unlike any other.
I've never heard someone say it's their favorite part of Christmas Eve, but that is why you are called mid-major, Matt. Last question, college football playoffs. We've got the second round coming up this week. Which spread stood out?
So I think it's interesting because, and I'm pulling them up now. I think Miami, it's very interesting. Unless there was an injury or something, the line has jumped in this Miami game all the way up to 9.5. I get it. But remember, now we're going to neutral fields. And so we're now going to places where there's going to be home field advantage for somebody. But I really like this Miami team potentially. And that 9.5, I think that's a decent number. Early thoughts here. I like kind of Oregon. I mean, I'm just really impressed with Oregon. Texas Tech's defense is really good, but their offense struggles in the red zone. You cannot struggle in the red zone against Oregon. So I have an early lean to Oregon here. Also, slight lean to Alabama, I think. This one's hovering around 6.5 or 7. I just think that Alabama getting the win at Oklahoma kind of gives them some confidence here. And we've seen at times, look at baseball, the teams that have been off a bunch of time, that it takes them a little time to get into a rhythm. And I think Alabama won't be intimidated by Indiana. And then Ole Miss and Georgia, I think that's going to be a lower scoring game. I don't know if I think Georgia covers that number. I think Ole Miss, the way Ole Miss played with all the question marks, the fact that Lane Kiffin was gone and Pete Golding was there, and everybody was like, well, how are they going to play without Lane Kiffin? I think they played pretty well. It's a team that they're going to be familiar with in their own conference. So early thoughts, and we'll talk about this again on Friday or next Monday or whatever. Early thoughts here. I like Miami plus the points, Oregon to win over Texas Tech, Alabama plus the points, and I think Ole Miss. I haven't locked any of them in yet, but those are my early leans. We'll check back in on Friday when we do this again.
Even though those games were all this past weekend, we won't have those games until at least New Year's Eve. Miami and Ohio State, December 31st. The rest will be on New Year's Day. Bunch of bowl games in between, which is why we've got mid-major Matt, because he's going to tell us exactly what to look at and which bowls to narrow down, because it's not just the college football playoff. We've still got bowl games. Mid-major Matt, thank you as always for coming on the show. You are the best. We will see you on Friday.
And hoping for some agreements with my guy Jared. We haven't since I haven't been on a couple times. I hope we get some agreements, because that's usually winners when we do.
The kicker props. Jared and I agree on a lot of props today, actually, but the kicker prop, I'm very interested to get his thoughts, so I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good.
See you, Matt. Coming on the show now, as we just said, as he does every single Monday, and I've got to talk to him about a little bit of Midwest stuff, because I saw in the chat that, who was it, Uncle Ted, who said that he wanted to talk some Chicago White Sox. I don't even know who Jared's baseball team is. He's all the way over there in that Midwest spot, so they could go either way. Jared R. Block joining the show. Catch him at Jared R. Block, Trinity Analytics, Props.cash. Who is your baseball team?
My baseball team is, unfortunately, the Milwaukee Brewers, who continue to...
That makes sense since you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan. I mean, you shouldn't say unfortunately. The Brewers, for some reason, are always favored to win the division. They just never follow through in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a Wisconsin sports thing. If you're not from Wisconsin, you don't really understand it. But it is very close to your teams as well. The expectations are sky high.
I'm just asking because the White Sox made a nice little move over the weekend. What'd you think?
They did. Yeah, I think that team in general is... They have things, right? It's just a matter of, do they let them develop into something? And I think that you started to see that over the back half of the year. We made a lot of money on White Sox money line because it was always plus money. And we also make a lot of money on Colson Montgomery, who is a stud and deserves a lot of money. But again, we'll see how long all these guys last. And I'm very surprised that nobody else picked up that guy. I have to learn his name more, and I have to learn to be confident in pronouncing it, but we'll get there.
Hey, that's what I felt about your Giannis Antetokounmpo when he first came to the NBA. I was like, Giannis Antetokounmpo what?
Exactly.
It's baseball season in 2 months, so we will definitely be diving into baseball. I cannot wait to talk baseball with you. We do have a lot of similar thoughts in Monday Night Football tonight. We just did a lot of football with Matt. I want to dive into some NBA first, because you've got some spots in the NBA that definitely caught your eye. That is not the NBA, but it might as well be. Concanipple, PRA. Why are you looking at Concanipple, the former Dookie?
I'm looking at him for a few reasons. Number one, I believe, now I got to get this right. It was brought up on my show earlier by my co-host, and I'll have to double check it, but he is, I think, 1 3-pointer away from being the fastest rookie to ever hit certain milestones. So I got to look into that. But regardless, usually I don't like to go into milestone situations with player props, but we're getting to that point of the year for NFL where you can start talking about that. NBA wise, I like the spot so much, and it's been something that it's been a slow developing situation, but during this free fall of the Cleveland Cavaliers, where they've lost a lot of depth and rotation pieces, they were getting smashed by point guards religiously, and now you're starting to see that shift over to the shooting guard position, and mainly from a three-point angle. They have allowed the second most threes to the shooting guard position over the last 7 games. And in that same time frame of these really bad losses, they have allowed the third most points to the shooting guard position as well. So scoring guards have been really, really successful. And now we're at the point of the year where Concanipple, you can argue, is the best player on the Charlotte Hornets. No Colin Sexton tonight, no Kalkbrenner either down low. So they will be forced to just give the ball to Knipple and let him ride. Also, I think that you're starting to see, so no, we don't have a good sample of this, but since the games, he's played 2 games since coming back from injury, has LaMelo Ball, and we saw him play 23 minutes in his last game. I think that that's clearly due to a blowout of 30 points to the Detroit Pistons. So what I'm trying to say is a long-winded way of saying LaMelo Ball on the court helps Nipple. And I do think that should free up some more space and get him some open looks. And I think the overall spot for Nipple is one of the best on the card tonight.
Okay, I like it. And I like that the splits with LaMelo Ball are included. I always love seeing what happens when he's on and off the floor. Dating back to last year, the splits are pretty drastic when it comes to certain players. Nipple was not one of them last year, but this year it makes a ton of sense. Speaking of good spots, Anthony Davis, you said to me earlier, revenge spot. Well, Anthony Davis played for the Los Angeles Lakers in between his time in New Orleans. We still care about New Orleans?
I think to a certain degree. Now, again, it's long-winded, right? But I think it's more important when a player who is a veteran goes back to a place where he started. And I think that you have that here in this spot. Take whatever you want aside. Like, this is also the closest spread of the night too. It's a 1-point spread. Open Dallas, but now it's New Orleans -1. Whereas like the majority of the games tonight have double-digit spreads in classic NBA fashion. So with that said, I think that the main point that I want to highlight here is not necessarily defense versus position, but I want to really, really preference that this is the first time in the NBA this year that a defense is allowing more restricted area shots than the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls have been the worst team in the restricted area the entire year, but today specifically, New Orleans is now the worst team in the NBA in the restricted area. And that, if you filter players that are active, so Giannis always ranks first in the NBA by a considerable margin. It's like 3 or 4 more field goals made than the next player. But if you take him out because he's not playing, he's not active right now, Anthony Davis would be number 1 in the NBA from the restricted area per game from that zone. So I think that you factor that in more than the narrative. It's a fun narrative to talk about, but you factor that in. You factor that some of the Dallas guys are still questionable. You got Cooper Flagg, might not play in this game. So, I think that Davis is an underlooked asset tonight.
What's the prop?
Points. I think you can go points, rebounds, but I do think that it's more of a point scoring spot than anything else.
Jimmy in 34. Flagg might be hungover from his birthday yesterday.
Hey, I mean, look, Dallas has they play on Christmas, right? I think I just checked on that earlier. So they'd have 3 games in 4 nights, which obviously, if you're Flagg, you're probably not playing one of these games the next 2 days.
Denver Stars, you said also. I know that the Nuggets home against the Jazz tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time, but they're laying a hefty number at 13, Denver.
They are.
You're not worried about a blowout factor?
I mean, look, I think it's definitely a cause for concern. It's definitely a red flag bullet point when all's said and done, and I can't dispute that. What I can say is that they have a high implied team total. It's 132 points. It opened at 127. There aren't very many times, I think maybe like 10 to 15 total, and that's even probably overestimating how many times we actually see that number up that high. And then on top of it, like I can name several things, and I will go into them, but like most notably, this game total is 250 points, which is insane. For those of you who don't follow the NBA or maybe like are out of touch on like these high implied game totals, not too long ago had we started to see all-star over-unders over 250, and now we're getting them in real life games. And I remember when like 210 was considered high. So yeah, it's crazy how fast things are. Not only that, but the pace of play situation is the highest on the card in terms of differentials. Utah runs at the second fastest pace of play in the NBA, and that only that basically equates to a higher average of possessions per game, which means more scoring and more peripheral stat opportunities. I think this is just a monstrous Joker / Jamal Murray spot. And on top of that, like still no Aaron Gordon, still no Christian Brown. We might not get Peyton Watson the 4 in this game. So you're going to have to rely on a lot of star power and star potential. And that's why I typed it the way that I did. On top of that, the Jazz are the worst team in the league against opposing point guards. So I think Joker's going to get his line is like 65 fantasy points. So I didn't include that for that reason because that's insane. But I do like Jamal Murray a lot.
I know I'm taking us back to the previous game, but the chat keeps bringing up Derek Queen. We love Derek Queen. We got onto Derek Queen very early into the season. Now the book's caught on. How much would you take a Derek Queen prop tonight?
Yeah, let me pull up my trends. He wasn't really a guy that I'm kind of
The
fading
market
New
now has
Orleans.
completely mini jokered him with the Alperon
Yeah.
Şengün stuff like a few years ago. Now they've caught on, and now it's going to be too high for a player that doesn't deserve to be too high, but he's so good.
He's very good, very promising. He should take that Şengün leap here in the next 2 or 3 years. It all kind of depends on what New Orleans does with their injury talk. We've seen both Queen and
Shocker.
Jeremiah Fears. They've both dropped off. Well, Fears more than Queen have dropped off minutes wise. They're playing a lot of Sadiq Bey. They're playing a lot of Trey Murphy. That's fine. But Zion and Jordan Poole are back, and that's kind of soaking everything up right now. And that's why you see that Queen, the book is doing this thing where they're keeping Queen right where the public thinks that he should be, though I don't know if he's really should be there right now. So that's kind of why I'm hesitant. But if you want something, it was on my prop trends list that I post every day. It's free on X.
Yep.
It's 13 plus rebounds and assists. He's hit that 5 of his past 6. So if there was something to do that with, it would be this one.
I know that you do DFS, you bet props, you bet on Prize Picks. How much have you noticed in these slates that NBA does make you more money on an NFL night, or is that just a myth?
Oh, I know that action comes in differently on NBA or MLB in that same regard. Like early on in the season, people do not care about or I guess I can take this in 2 parts, but for right now, NBA, NFL, there's so much late public money that comes in on NFL and just not really that much on NBA. And if you're seeing anything on NBA, it's mainly around stars or it's just around like, I don't know, for example, on Prize Picks, a lot of people look to the popular page. Those tend to get steamed up tremendously where a point or two in the PRA really matters. And, I just think that when it comes to NFL, nothing compares, and people just want to like throw extra money.
But do you notice that the NBA has more of that on the NFL nights, or are you feeling like it's kind of been the same since it's such a downtime in NBA betting, no matter what day it is?
You're saying more action on stars or something for NFL, like for NBA and NFL nights?
Are you finding better edges on an NFL night in the NBA than you are on a just NBA night on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yeah, definitely. I think that more so in the like rotational player market than anything else. People want that extra leg. It's all about parlays and getting extra legs. And
the
they're
NBA is a
usually
very
betting
beautiful
on
prop market.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know if you talked about this last week or have we even had time to even have you have a show with the NBA player prop betting news? Have you seen that?
Oh, we did mention it a little bit last week, but you could talk about what your thoughts are on it.
I am a firm believer that this is just a calling bluff situation.
That's what I said.
I don't think that we are so far removed from getting this removed from anything. And
first off, I also said that people are already limited anyway.
Right. If you're limited, then you're going to move somewhere else, or like, and the last thing that the NBA wants, and the last thing that the sports books want, is money moving offshore, and they will do that if they start like taking the primary bench players off, or if they start limiting unders. People will go other places. It's always been, and there's never been a more transparent time in the sports betting industry than right now, and we're starting to see all that come to light. So as soon as we get through some of this rocky, murky stuff, I know it's scary. I know that like every other month it seems somebody gets busted, but once players start realizing that they're going to get tracked and flagged immediately, things will start to settle down. I don't think this is going away anytime soon.
Me either. It's all just PR bluff that they're just trying to say to make it look like they're doing something, but they're just going to wait until it dies down and nothing's going to happen. We're going to keep betting because that's what we're told to do. That's what we're paid to do. And that's what we love to do. Let's talk Monday Night Football. We're on the same page. And I know you've got props for the Niners and the Colts. I separated them into 2 different categories and 2 different full screens. These are your 49er props, to which we are very aligned on. I love this Purdy over passing yards as well. Why are you going with it?
It's probably, outside of like attacking the Commanders, the best spot on paper for passing games. We kind of saw that play out on Saturday, and we're going to probably see it pan out tonight. Look, the Colts did everything that they could to beef up their secondary, which was already bad. If you remember, like back in the first month, 2 of the season, the Colts offense was just really good. And there was a part of me every week that my partner and I, Josh, would talk on our show about, are the Colts just a really, really good offense and they're forcing teams to pass on them? Or maybe do they just have really bad secondary problems? And they addressed that. They got Sauce Gardner. Charvarius Ward got healthy. It looked good for a brief stint, and then now they're not playing. Both of them are out. Both of them are on IR. And this is likely going to be the way that their season ends, because with the Colts loss, that eliminates them entirely here. I just don't see a world where, like, you have a motivated 49ers team. You have an Indianapolis defense that, again, is without Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward, and they're allowing the second most passing yards to quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks. We'll talk about more on top of this, because it just could not be better for this 49ers passing game.
I love it. The Colts have definitely been struggling with their secondary, ton of injuries. Purdy, I expect 300 plus, which is why I'm pretty shocked this number is 247.5. Purdy's numbers on the road against bottom 10 pasties last year, he had 290 plus in all 3. So I'm going to talk more about it in Prop Queen Edges. I love it. My question with the 49ers, I didn't know who the hell he's going to throw to. My question was longest reception props. It's going to hit tonight. Someone's going to catch a deep ball. There might even be 2. The Kittle trends are there. He's great in prime time. He's got the rapport with Purdy. Jennings has more of a rapport with Purdy, but the longest receptions haven't really been there for him, especially on the road. Then there's Kendrick Bourne, who was great with Mac Jones under center, not so much Purdy. How did you come to deciding it's going to be Juwan Jennings?
Yeah, so for me, by the way, the Kendrick Bourne thing is totally like this second team practice squad stuff. Like they clearly have a connection there. So it's unfortunate that Brock is not the same way, but I came to the Jennings conclusion, not only like the easy like check boxes that Ricky Pearsall is out for this one, but the second, and as you go further down the line, we are starting to now see Juwan Jennings be the player that he was last year. And it's because Brock Purdy's playing quarterback. He's got a 24% team leading target share with Purdy at quarterback, which is now a good enough sample size to really buy into. And so with that said, I lined up the previous, if you want to, I would say that 24% target share is a clear wide receiver 1 situation for any team in the NFL. So
and wide receiver ones have done great against the Colts in the last 5 weeks. Nico Collins, Jackson Smith-Njigba. You look at all of them; they've all done very well.
Yep, Rashee Rice went over 140 yards too. So those are a lot of names, and Juwan Jennings is definitely like at the bottom of that list in terms of talent. But I do think that, with that said, I think this is a 24% target share means more than 50 yards in the spot. And that line is like around 55.5. The stuff on props.cash, wherever you look, box score wise, not going to look good. It's going to be a lot of red. But with that said, I think you can buy into that. And I love his ceiling tonight. I do think that he's got a good 80 plus in him.
You like the receiving yards for Jennings over the longest reception?
I think so, just because I haven't seen it. And I'd like to see it.
I might tell this as a prize picks lineup because, again, I was trying to figure out how to play the receivers. I also wanted to play Kittle because Kittle has been absolute money in prime time, especially on the road with Brock Purdy under center. Those two just connect. The Colts have struggled against tight ends as well. That is the category that has gone over their longest reception, the position that's gone over their longest reception the most against Indianapolis. I assume that's why you like Kittle. Props.cash, by the way. Shout out.
Yep, absolutely. Love Kittle. 24 plus yard receptions in 4 straight games. Dating back to primetime stuff has just been nails in general. And Indy's allowed 8th most receiving yards to the position this season. I think this does also just help that not having Ward and Sauce out there definitely just leaves everything open, even in the middle of the field. So you always have to pay attention to McCaffrey. There's not much talk on him today because
Colts are better against the run anyway.
They've been really good against the run, and they also get to force Buckner back, which I do think that that makes a lot of sense. So if you're taking McCaffrey out from a running standpoint, I think he can still do well in the passing game, but this is more of a well-rounded situation for the two main pass catchers that aren't named CMC. And it's not like Purdy can really throw elsewhere. Like he just isn't giving Demarcus Robinson or Kendrick Bourne any love. That might change tonight, but I think it's very clear that things are going to go to Kittle and Jennings.
I know in the chat that Mark, who is a big 49ers fan, by the way, Mark keeps talking about how Kittle scored his first touchdown against the Colts. How much do you care about that?
A little. I think there's probably some good memories for him, right? I think that's a nice cherry on top always whenever all the data aligns in the first place.
This is the team ahead question marks. Obviously, we don't have a huge sample size. It's one game with 44-year-old Phillip Rivers under center for the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Taylor is a name that I have loved all season, home road splits wise. I have faded him on the road. I have hit his overs at home. It is the only place you could bet overs on Jonathan Taylor is in Indy. However, I get nervous because the 49ers do have a better run D. The 49ers know we've got to go to Jonathan Taylor because that's their main weapon. Phillip Rivers, old man, make him throw. How come you're not scared of the 49ers run D with Jonathan Taylor?
I'm putting a disclaimer on this saying the only reason I even have this up here is because I want to have a conversation. And let's just make a caveat and say, let's say the Colts win. That's the only way that they can win is if Jonathan Taylor goes bananas and he rushes the ball 30 plus times. They have to give him 25 touches in general in order to even make this thing competitive, in my opinion, because I don't see many pathways. And
I was looking at the last 5 games. Running backs have not been getting carries against the San Francisco 49ers.
No, I know, but let's also just bring up like the list of teams that they've played against recently. It's not good. And maybe, give it to San Francisco's credit. They have been really,
Cleveland,
really good.
Arizona, Giants, Houston, Tampa Bay. Those are the ones, by the way, guys.
Yeah. So you can make the case that is definitely valid. I think I'm not on this. I'm on 49ers -4.5. But I think like if you're going to paint a picture about Indianapolis staying in this game and having an outside shot, it is because Taylor kind of breaks the mold, and he is better than all the running backs that have faced San Francisco recently. So There's something to say about that. Since Fred Warner went down, they've been the worst team in terms of yards before contact. That's just something you got to believe in if you're an Indianapolis fan, but it's not going to be pretty.
Then would you pivot to Jonathan Taylor over his longest rush? What are the numbers backing that?
They're not good recently, I'll tell you that. But home has been relatively consistent since 2024 in terms of the over stuff. And that's a lot of it was just from an awesome year last year. This year, a little less, but he has not had an explosive run since Atlanta. And that was a game that was overseas. So it's kind of
I just have to put a prize picks lineup together and I need at least one play from the other team.
Yeah, that's brutal, right? I will give you one that's not in here. So there was one thing that actually made sense on the Indianapolis Colts side. It doesn't look good on props.cash, but it only makes sense because of the way that San Francisco plays. So historically speaking, in this system with Robert Saleh specifically, they tend to be really, really good in man coverage on the outside, which will take away Alec Pierce. And I know that, they can still find a way to give him a longest reception, but historically speaking, they tend to take out wideouts on either side. So that takes out Michael Pittman Jr., that takes out Alec Pierce. And the way that you beat San Francisco outside of running on them right now is to throw to the slot receiver, and that would be Josh Downs. And that would make sense for me in terms of over receiving yards for that spot. I'm not going to be interested in the longest reception for Josh Downs because I think this is more of like a Phillip Rivers actually might have time to throw. I don't know if you saw this, but
23.5 is Josh Downs' line at BetMGM.
Yeah, I know. It's gross. And he had 14 last week, so it's not going to look good. It's not going to feel good. But this is like the clear pathway to how you move the ball against San Francisco if you're not running. So Josh Downs receiving yards would be the thing. You factor in that old man Phillip can't throw the ball that far. It's a clear slot receiver type of situation for me. Seattle, much, much, much better against the slot receiver. So I'll go. I didn't include this, but I do like Josh Downs if you have to pick one Colts player.
Phillip Rivers, you're going under his passing yards, though. Yeah. 160.5, obviously a very low number. I'll tell you a little bit of data I've got on the completions, though, and why I might like it. It scares me, but Phillip Rivers under, how come he's not going to throw for 161?
anything Rivers is scary, especially when you've watched Phillip Rivers, right? And so there's a lot of these kids that don't even know what he looks like from the Chargers days. They only know him from the Colts days, and those weren't good either. So I don't, again, it's not going to feel good. Nothing's going to feel good, especially when you're betting like under like 180 yards for anything quarterback wise. So for me specifically, I don't mind the completion stuff. Actually, I think that's relatively solid. I want to just say that the stat that stood out to me in the 1 week, and again, it's a 1 week sample, but in the 1 week that Rivers played in, he was NFL low, number 32 in yards per attempt last week. Want to guess what that number was?
What?
Yards per attempt.
Oh, God, I don't want to know. What is it?
It's 4.4 yards on average per throw.
No.
That's what he was doing last week. That tells me that even if he throws the ball 30 times, completions could be there. He's not getting 160 yards on through the air.
Yeah, 49ers are a tough one to go up against for sure. My thoughts on the completions. Pretty much I was looking at the stats for the 49ers defense on the road. And I know, again, they haven't. And the good thing is that they haven't really faced anybody, which is why I liked these road games. Cleveland, Arizona, the Giants, Houston, Tampa. Obviously, Houston has CJ Stroud. Forget that. Tampa has Baker, sure. But actually, it was Shedeur. He did have 16, so he went under this. And this prop has gone up, by the way, from 16.5 to 17.5 on Phillip Rivers completions. Jacoby Brissett, 47 completions. Jackson Dart, 24. CJ Stroud, 30. Baker, 17. And again, Shedeur had 16. Those numbers are all kind of right there. And for this number being on the rise, I usually don't like betting over on completions. I don't know why. The attempts weren't really there for me because some of these guys' attempts were pretty low. But if we're going to talk dump-off passes, I mean, he just had 18 in Seattle. This one's inside in Indy. I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
I'm looking right now. I'm not sure if you're referring to the
for San Francisco that they've allowed. 70% of quarterbacks went over their completion prop against the Niners this year. It's pretty intriguing.
We're looking at the same thing then. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. It might have to be the way I have to go on Prize Picks, but I'm going to figure it out, I guess, a little bit after the show. What do you guys got going over on? What do you guys have going on at Trinity Analytics?
Busy week. You can relate to this. I'm getting texts and calls from friends and family, and they're like, "What are you doing this week? We're here in town." And I'm like, "I'm
working,
smashed with work." Like, we have a 14-game NBA slate tomorrow. And we have, obviously, thankfully, a Wednesday that is clear of everything. But that's my day that I got to prep all the NFL content for Christmas.
Me too. Yeah.
We are full time doing NFL and NBA all week, and that's what happens during the holidays. So thankfully, though, that Wednesday does help me a lot. But yeah, we're going full speed this week.
Jared R. Block is where you can find him over on X, Trinity Analytics, props.cash. It is most useful tools. Thank you so much, Jared. We'll see you next week, and Merry Christmas.
Appreciate it. Merry Christmas, everybody.
We've got to get to some propaganda, and it is the most bet on props of the day from over at BetMGM. We'll talk Monday Night Football, of course. It is a propaganda. These are the most bet on props. 99% of money coming in on Brock Purdy over rushing yards. Christian McCaffrey over receiving yards. Alec Pierce over receiving yards. Jonathan Taylor over receiving yards and Jonathan Taylor over receptions. Interesting. We brought on a lot of guests today with mid-major Matt Jared Block. First off, Brock Purdy. The reason I would not take this over, despite his numbers being good, even against teams that are bad against the pass, for some reason those go hand in hand, that he runs the football a lot. You're getting a defense in the Colts that has been pretty good at limiting quarterbacks on the ground. The Colts have allowed the second least rushing yards per game to quarterbacks at 11. 64% of quarterbacks have gone under their rushing yard prop when facing Indy. So just be careful there of Brock Purdy. I know he could run. I'm not saying to bet the under. I'm just saying it's why I stayed away from the over. Christian McCaffrey over receiving yards. Obviously, that's public. Alec Pierce, if you just listen to Jared Block talking about this, the Niners do a good job of taking away receivers like an Alec Pierce. He said to look at Josh Downs. So that's something you could think of reading the public. honestly shocked that Jonathan Taylor over receiving yards is the most bet on prop as opposed to rushing yards. A few other things to look at. Most bet on player props. Again, McCaffrey over receiving, Pierce over receiving, Pinheiro over field goals. I forgot to ask Jared if he agreed on Matt with that one, but Matt did like Pinheiro over field goals. Kittle over receiving yards. We pivoted. We went with the over longest reception for George Kittle. And Purdy over rushing yards. Most bet on anytime touchdown scorers. You insane people are parlaying McCaffrey into anytime touchdown parlays. George Kittle, Tyler Warren, Jawan Jennings, and Jonathan Taylor are your. If you're laying $2 on anytime touchdowns, guys, come on. Unfortunately, and if you ever see my Picket page, I try to hide these. My friends and I have been doing the squad rides, which are so much fun. Like every Sunday, we're doing a squad ride where me and 3 other friends are putting in a prop or a leg each. One of my friends doesn't know anything about betting, but we include her because she doesn't want to be left out, and she's been laying like minus 300 money lines. So I've been trying to find props that balances that. But then I had a friend who was raving about the fact that she hit her anytime touchdown score, but we were laying $2. And I'm like, of course you hit your $2 bet. Like, of course. We bet, I think it was $15 each for 4 legs to hit a 19-1 parlay. Didn't hit because I lost because I took freaking Hollywood Brown anytime touchdown and Gardner Minshew decided to tear his ACL. Sad for that. They all ended up hitting, but they're all celebrating. And I'm like, dude, I gave you a plus 425 anytime touchdown score, and you guys are laying $2-3 on these running backs to score. You're ruining our parlays. You're ruining them. Stop parlaying $2 or $3 favorites to go and score touchdowns. Boring. Okay. Prop Queen Edges of the day. I was trying to catch up on you guys in the chat. Prop Queen Edges of the day are just for Monday Night Football today. We'll focus on the big NBA slate tomorrow. Tomorrow, by the way, Kelly in Vegas going to join the show, and I'll get us an NBA guest as well. Kelly will break down some early thoughts on the college football slate, Christmas slate, NFL slate, etc. But I've got Prop Queen Edges for just Monday Night Football today, and again, we'll do NBA tomorrow. I said I was very aligned with Jared Block in many ways. We were talking Purdy overs. We're talking 49ers longest reception props. Phillip Rivers, though, over those completions. And I just mentioned it. Phillip Rivers had this prop go from 16.5 a couple of days ago, now up to 17.5. He just had 18 in Seattle. Cam Ward just had 18 completions. Shedeur Sanders just had 16, but he went over his prop of 13.5. Bryce Young, 18. Jacoby Brissett, 47. Stafford, 24. Jackson Dart, 24 against San Francisco. Those are all the completions against San Fran. I even looked at San Fran's defense on the road. Shedeur was one of those where 49ers were on the road. Arizona, Brissett, 47. Jackson Dart, 24. Houston, 30. Tampa, 17. Like, those were all the road games as well. And Phillip Rivers, at home, inside, just had 18 on the road in Seattle outside. Inside should be a bit easier. And the Achilles heel of the Niners D is their secondary more so than their run D. So they're going to force Phillip Rivers to throw. Phillip Rivers is just going to have to dump the ball off. And if the public thinks that it's going to be Jonathan Taylor receiving yards, Phillip Rivers is going to have to throw, whether it's his running back, whether it's short field somewhere else to his receivers. I like Phillip Rivers to at least complete 18 passes tonight. And I usually hate betting these overs. I do. But it was the only one that made sense. To Jared Block's point, I can't bet him over passing yards. And for some reason, the pass attempts, it just wasn't there for me because San Fran actually allows more completions than attempts this year to quarterbacks. 70% of quarterbacks have gone over their completion prop when facing the 49ers this season. As for Brock Purdy, I was looking at over completions, attempts, yardage. I was looking at Purdy's numbers against bottom 10 pass Ds, which is the Colts. The Colts allow the third most passing yards per game, and it's going to get worse because of the injuries to the secondary, like Sauce Gardner. However, Brock Purdy against bottom 10 pass Ds dating back to the start of last year, because we only have a 2-game sample size this year. Against bottom 10 pass Ds dating back to last year, Brock Purdy averaging 24.5 completions, 32.5 pass attempts, 324 passing yards, 2.5 passing touchdowns, and 23 rushing yards. So his completions prop is 21.5, and he's averaging 24.5 in the last 2 years against bottom 10 pass Ds. On the road, he went over his completions in all 3. The Colts allow the second most completions per game at just under 24 a game. 71% of quarterbacks have gone over their completion prop against Indy. So you could look to the Brock Purdy over completions. It's right on par with the pass attempts, which is why I'm not going pass attempts for Purdy. 32.5 is what he averages. The prop's 32.5. Indy does allow they allow the most pass attempts per game, though. So you could look there if you like my method of, I don't normally like to bet over on completions because I just want the intent to be there. If the intent is there to throw, I only need to worry about Brock Purdy trying to throw. I don't need to also worry about the receiver completing the pass. So I'm staying away from attempts just because numbers-wise, it is spot on at 32.5. The least spot-on number is the passing yards. I agree with Mark. Mark's a 49ers fan. I agree that Brock Purdy over his passing yards makes the most sense. He is averaging 324 passing yards a game against bottom 10 pass Ds since last year. On the road, he's gone over in all three with at least 290 passing yards against all three of those teams that are bottom 10 against the pass. The Colts allow the third most passing yards per game, and 64% of quarterbacks have gone over their passing yards prop against the Colts. I would go with the over there on passing yards for Brock Purdy. Definitely going to be my prize picks lineup tonight. I was trying to figure out who I was going with longest reception. I love longest reception props in prime time against teams that are bottom 10 against the pass. I feel like we have to go with Kittle. It is the trend. The trend is Kittle. He's gone over the longest reception prop in 4 of his last 6 road primetime games with Brock Purdy under center, without Ricky Pearsall, who's out tonight with an ankle and knee injury. Overall, Kittle's averaging just over 28 yards per longest catch in road primetime games without Pearsall and with Purdy. On the road this year with Purdy under center, Kittle's had at least 30-yard catches in 2 of those 3 games. He's gone over his longest reception prop in 4 straight with Brock Purdy under center, 5 straight that Kittle's gone over a receiving yard prop of 66.5. Indy's allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to tight ends. 64% of tight ends have also gone over their longest reception prop against the Colts. So I love George Kittle tonight. I'd probably do what Jared Bach did and did longest reception on Kittle and just receiving yards for Joanne Jennings, because Jennings, he has had the most big catches on the team with 7, tied with McCaffrey and Pearsall. But I haven't seen it enough lately, especially with Brock Purdy. And even though Kendrick Bourne's numbers are better, they're better with Mac Jones, not with Brock Purdy, unfortunately. Jennings is only averaging just under 16 yards per longest reception with Brock Purdy. He's only gone over it in 1 of 6 games. So I can't go longest reception on Jennings, but I will go Jennings receiving yards, Kittle longest reception, Purdy over receiving yards. I guess Rivers over completions. I wish I had an under to give you, but I don't really have an under to give you today. I want to look up some total tackle props too. Maybe I'll find a Colts total tackle prop instead of a Phillip Rivers prop. I just don't feel confident. But again, in prize picks, you do need to have a player from each side in order to prize picks this lineup. So I definitely need to find something on the Colts side, because I do love a Kittle longest reception, at least, that I want to throw in there. And I do like Jennings, because if you do look also at the last 5 games that the Colts have played, the number 1 receivers have been crushing. Jackson Smith and Jigba had a 39-yard catch. He went over 27.5. Brian Thomas had a 39-yard catch. Nico Collins had a 29-yard catch. Rashid Rice had a 47-yard catch. Drake London had a 30-yard catch. So they are giving up chunk plays to these number 1 wide receivers, which is why I love Jennings. So I guess we just have to assume he's going to get a lot of different chunk plays, which might not be 22 yards, but they might be 15, 16-yard catches that helps us hit that 56-yard number. So I would go there. I'm going to look at this. Cross 6 tackles plus assists for the Colts. Thank you. I'm going to look at that on props.cash after the show. I'm Cross. You got it. Thank you. I love total tackle props in prime time. They're my favorite. I just didn't have time because I'm working on all these other things. I'm working on all these things to help build Prop Queen. And I'm going to, again, I keep saying it, but I'm going to create useful tools, some free ones as well, that I'll be giving out this week for Christmas. So stay tuned for these free tools. I'm going to try to work on it tomorrow. Hopefully have it to you by Wednesday so you can have it for the Thursday games. Some free tools to use to definitely help grow like how you guys do. That's my goal, is to help you guys gamble better. I never like to tout myself as a sharp. I'm not. I just like to help you guys make smarter bets, get as much possible information that you guys could have. I love that you guys also in the chat give each other good info. Hopefully it's good info and not BS. But a lot of the time it is very good info that you guys help each other out. That's what we're here for, is to help each other out, to make some money, because the enemy is not us. It's not each other. It's the book. We got to make money. Royal locks of the day. Best bets. Let's get to Royal locks. Royal locks. Brock Purdy over his passing yards. Again, he should have 300 tonight. I would be surprised if he didn't. Brock Purdy is averaging 324 passing yards a game dating back to last year against teams that are bottom 10 against the pass, going over 290 yards in all 3 of those road games that are bottom 10 against the pass dating back to the start of last year. Jennings over his longest reception. I think I'm going to pivot now and go Jennings over receiving yards. I haven't bet it yet. I was waiting to see what Jared and Matt had to say. I think I'm convinced by Jared. We're going to go Jennings over receiving yards, and we're going to go Kittle over longest reception. I really like the 49ers props tonight. It is hard to like a Colts prop tonight when you only have a 1-game sample size. Whew. I feel like I've been talking for a while. We're an hour 15 over. It is us versus Vegas, us versus the books. Here to give you good info, always and forever. ThePropQueen.com. Make sure to check it out, the newsletter. Super helpful over at ThePropQueen.com as well. I will be giving free subscribers something to use that's going to help you guys bet better and smarter. Stop guessing. Get good info. That's what the Prop Queen info and research and guests are all here for. Good luck tonight, everybody. I will see you here tomorrow. Remember, Kelly in Vegas joining the show 5:10 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, and then I'll get you guys an NBA guest for the huge NBA slate as well.